Yes, Doctor.
Okay, so anyone wants to start? Tarifa kata apa? Yes, Doctor. Okay. So anyone wants to start? Okay, can someone read for me the first paragraph? It's revision class, yeah? Revision class. I expect you to participate more rather than me doing the talking. Okay, it's not a lecture slot, it's a tutorial and it's a revision class. So the best would be for you to try to solve the questions and I'll assist and coach you at any state that you are not sure of. Can someone read for me the first paragraph, this one?
Sure, Doctor.
All right.
Okay. Mary is a constitutional law researcher in a Malaysian public university. She feels that Bumiputra issue of UiTM has not been dealt with properly under constitutional law. She believes that Section 1A of the UiTM Act 1976 that states the University Technology Mara is established pursuant to and in accordance with the provisions of Article 153 of the Federal Constitution is superfluous since the quota for Bumiputra students exists in all public universities.
All right, thank you. Muhammad is Muhammad. The full
Haziq.
name is Muhammad Haziq. Okay, dia nampak separuh je nama kat sini. Alright, thank you Haziq. Okay, as usual, I'm going to ask any issue that you can extract or you can link the constitutional law to that you have learned, any principles that have sparked out of reading the first paragraph. If Haziq can start first or not, any one of you can contribute to answering this part, the first part, yeah? So the main issue is on?
Article 153.
Special rights.
Okay, 153. So what are they contesting? Come again?
The quota,
okay, come again? The special privileges.
Related to quota of Bumiputra in UiTM.
Okay, in UiTM. So they are now contesting, saying that this is not in accordance to Article 153. Are they doing that? Or something of supporting the validity of creating quotas under UiTM Act 1976. Anyone wants to start? Okay, the first sentence, nothing much, yeah? It's just saying that there is a person who is a law lecturer, a law researcher in the Malaysian Public University, and she had some feelings saying that Bumiputra issue in UiTM has not been dealt with properly under constitutional law. So this is the starting of the issue. She is not challenging, yeah? She is saying that it was not well addressed. Every time that there is a controversy relating to Article 153 and special connection to UiTM Act, then that issue itself have not been properly addressed. Okay, now she believed that Section 1A of the UiTM Act 1976. Okay, can anyone, have you looked into Section 1 capital A of UiTM Act 1976? Have any of you, while reading the questions, make an attempt to look and refer to the actual provisions of UiTM Act 1976, particularly Section 1 capital A? Have you? Not important because it has been extracted here. Betul? The best is every time that you read questions, not only for my class, yeah? In future, if you attend any classes, for you to delve deeper into the knowledge that you need to acquire, when you came across certain statute, and then make an attempt to at least look into the objective of the establishment or the passing of that laws itself. It will be very much useful for you to continue your argument later on, yeah? So, okay, let's look into the extract of RTS Section 1, capital A of UiTM Act. The University Technology Mara is established pursuant to and in accordance with the provisions of Article 153 of the Federal Constitution. So, meaning UiTM has been established under a special provision which is Article 153. This is the uniqueness of UiTM as compared to the other public universities. Okay, and it is said that this provision is superfluous since the quota for Bumiputra students exists in all public universities. So what do you have to say on this? First, take a stand. Do you agree with this? Or you have a dissenting argument on this? Anyone? How should you start addressing the first paragraph? I've been throwing baits from one to one, but nobody catches the baits, I guess.
Agree or disagree?
You want to discuss?
Can we discuss about
Yes,
the
I think we agree with the
Supreme Law
Come
of
again,
Land?
you sign ni. Qayyum, ya. Siapa nak cakap dulu ni?
Can we discuss first Federal Constitution as a Supreme Law of the land?
You want to state Federal Constitution as a supreme law of the land. Okay, you can add that one in. You can start with that. Plus, you have to make a connections between Article 4 to the one that you are discussing. So the main issue is on Article 153. How is 4.1 relevant to that? As long as you can connect, then that it is acceptable. Yeah. Some of the mistakes that the student have made in your assignment is that you have provisions which are not relevant. So this is where I put in either irrelevant or less relevant, because your failure to connect the one that you want to discuss, the provision that you've insert, to the question asked. And that's why it's important, I think, during your foundation studies or your diploma studies, when you are coached to use ILAC system, issue, law, applications and conclusion, the determinations of issue is very important, because any authorities that you are going to cite, either cases or provision, if it has connection to the issue that you are discussing, then there will be marks for that. But if you fail to connect, you only put in the facts of the case, you have the principle of the case, but it is not so relevant to the questions. So this is where it will be a bit unuseful for you to insert such authorities. Yeah. Okay, back to this one. You want to start with 4.1, yeah, Yusaini? Okay, how in the end of it you are going to relate 4.1 to Article 153? If you have the answers, then you may, by all means, insert Article 4.1. Yusaini, back to you.
So the next line will be discussed about the Parliament,
Power.
Parliament and state.
Parliament and state.
Power granted to Parliament.
To legislate. Okay. So you have Article 4.1 describing the supremacy of the Constitution, right? And then you follow after that is the division of power between Parliament and also state legislative assembly, right? You have these two.
Yes.
All right. But we have not yet discussed on Article 153, yeah?
Yeah, not yet.
Okay, so I couldn't see the link, how you connect these two provision to Article 153.
Because
And that's why it's important. Can we first determine the issue, Article 153? As to the first paragraph saja dulu. First paragraph, apa core issue dia di situ?
Actually, I read the
What is
issue.
the
The issue is the challenge on validity of Section 1A of the UiTM Act.
Correct. What was the ground? What was the ground for them to challenge that? Are they in a way saying that it is not something proper to have UiTM Act 1976, particularly Section 1A, because similar provision has already existed in the establishments of the other public universities. So the entrance into the other public universities other than UiTM has already had the quota provisions. Quota for Bumiputra provisions appears in the establishment of the other public universities. So it is already there. So apa gunanya UiTM ada 1A just to say that they are basically developed and the opening and entrance is specifically allowed for Bumiputra, for the undergraduate programs. Yang lain-lain boleh je. Postgrad semua boleh. except non-Burmese tak boleh lah, but foreigner semua tu dibenarkan. The undergrad programs is wholly the one who can apply is the Bumiputra. So they are contesting, dia macam overlapping. Dah ada peruntukan yang kata boleh create special quota. Sekarang ada pula satu lagi peruntukan untuk UiTM special pula. Undergrad semua yang applicant hanyalah Bumiputra sahaja. So what do you have to say on that? 153, what is the scope of 153? What is the content, the gist of 153? As I've discussed in the lecture, 153 provides for
privilege for Malays and native of Sabah and Sarawak. So
Right,
I think we should highlight in aspect of scholarship, educational and places in institution.
Right, correct. You can do that. So it's better to start with Article 153 itself, the objective, yeah? So the objective is to provide special privileges. And who are the aim audiences or the people who are entitled to enjoy the special privileges? So like my Sarah has highlighted, it's the Malay populations and also the natives of Sabah and Sarawak. All right. So describe on the objective and also the scope. The special privileges is only guaranteed to the Malays and also the natives of Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, what are the procedures for this Bumiputra to enjoy the privileges secured by them, secured to them under Article 153? Are they automatically someone who is entitled to enjoy the privileges because they are born Bumiputra?
No, they still need to go through a few requirements.
Yeah, so there will be merit-based qualifications before you can enjoy the quotas or reservations made exclusively to the Bumiputra. So explain on the scope, all right? Like you sign if you want to insert 4.1 and Article 9 schedule on the divisions of power between Parliament and State Legislative Assembly is irrelevant on the first paragraph, right? But 4.1 can be connected. So you have to connect. How can you connect that one is by describing 4.1 says that constitution shall be the supreme law of the land. So it cannot be the making of any other law which is inconsistent with the federal constitutions. So by having certain provisions in constitution, the supremacy of the law itself is guaranteed. So 153 is one of the example where the provision becomes supreme because it is part of the federal constitutions. So the regulations under Article 153 shall be abide with for the creations of UiTM Act 1976. So there was nothing inconsistent that was challenged on the making of Section 1A of UiTM Act 1976. So the first paragraph did not challenge on the existence of 153 except for the inappropriateness of the provision itself. It seems that it has overlapped with the existing provision that allows for the creations of quota under Article 153. Alright? Boleh tu?
Boleh ada.
Okey, baca seterusnya, paragraf seterusnya. Come. Siapa nak tolong saya?
I'll read, Doctor.
Boleh, silakan.
UiTM and its respective Vice Chancellors have been defending the status quo of UiTM as a Bumiputra institution. In fact, in reply to the argument that Article 153 uses the words quota and reservations in reasonable proportions, the legal advisor of UiTM had cautioned that the words in the Federal Constitution should not be given a literal interpretation and that a prismatic interpretation should be used instead.
Okay, so this one goes to, what is the main issue here? Radin. The second part. Okay, macam ni. You identify dulu dalam tajuk-tajuk Constitution 2, Constitutional Law 2 that you have learned. Yang ni sebenarnya jatuh bawah apa? Executive? Legislative? Judiciary, special privileges, security offences. Tajuk mana? Cuba attachkan kepada tajuk besar dulu. Anyone? Can you sense the word interpretation?
Judiciary, right? Because
Yeah,
there's
judiciary,
prismatic interpretation that should be highlighted.
Betul. So the literal interpretation and prismatic interpretation goes to one of the role of judiciary, kan? Okay, the interpretations. Ada beberapa role yang saya dah explain to you. Ada 6 role altogether on the interpretations of constitution, and one of it is prismatic interpretations. Literal interpretations and liberal interpretations, and then comes a few other guidelines that I've described to you, and it's also on my slide on prismatic interpretation. So find out the definitions of prismatic interpretations. What is the meaning of prismatic interpretations? Alright, tak apalah kalau you are not really prepared. I guess sebab lambat lagi kan exam. So mungkin you are still in the process of reading and trying to understand. Let me just give some key points to you. Balik you kena dig lagi lah ya. It seems that you are not prepared sebenarnya. Tak seronok discuss bila tidak ada feedback kan. It should be interactive. Dan baru dia akan jadi something yang useful to all of you. That can in a way assist you in the final exam. Believe me, some of you, dia ada audio punya learning style, learning and photographic. So when you listen to the discussion, that will help you to argue in your exam. Tapi hari ni nampak kita tak boleh pakai lah approach yang itu. But it's okay. What I can do at least is to give you some points that you should dig more after this class. Yeah. So prismatic approach. Look into the case of Lee Kuan Yew, 2009, right? When I discuss, I merely mentioned the cases, and I've also explained the illustration example because I could not explain all cases that there is on my slide satu. Memang tanggungjawab pelajar, dia kena baca lebih. Kalau tak faham, then the next class atau during tutorial, saya selalu tanya ada apa-apa yang tidak faham ke tidak, but tak banyak lah sebenarnya yang boleh tanya saya semula lah. It seems that maybe you tak baca, you really depends on what I said in class and on what is on my slide, which is tak cukup sebenarnya, alright? Okay, Mal, back to this one.
Doctor, can I ask?
Boleh, Maisara, silakan.
In the case of Lee Kuan Yew, it tells about concept of life and personal liberty. So is it okay if we explain about this one?
Boleh, tapi you kena relate balik pada prismatic approach lah. Okay,
alright.
about cases, sometimes some of you have full facts, which is good, tetapi kalau you are not able to link to the question asked, then kat situ dia akan jadi hanging. Dia jadi macam kat mana, then at the end of it, how is this relatable to your questions? Okay, so like Lee Kuan Yew yang Maisara highlight tu, it's on rights of personal liberty. That is the main issue that was challenged. But what was defective in that case is that the accused person was not given the rights to file in his defense. So he was not allowed. So this is what was said to go against rights to life and livelihood under Article 5. So Gopal Sri Ram in that case have adopted prismatic interpretations. Have you read on that, Maisara?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, what was the underlying principles for prismatic interpretation, prismatic interpretations?
Gopal Sri Ram state that prismatic interpretation approach will reveal to the court the rights submerged in the concept employed by the several provisions under Part 2.
Alright, so the gist to it is that when you read provision of constitution, in this case is the rights to life. And how does it protect your rights to defend your case? Right, in Lee Kuan Yew, what was defective is that accused person was not given the rights to defense in court, and the court at the end of it sum up the judgment without allowing the defendant or the accused person to defend himself. So this is defective under rights to life. So the interpretation that Gopal Sriram has adopted is, if you can just imagine prism, right? When we learn our sciences syllabus in the secondary school, so prism kan kita ada buat eksperimen. I believe kalau tak pun mungkin you pernah tengok dalam TV, backyard science ke apa ke kan, yang bila cahaya melalui prism, what happen to it? Dia akan mencapai so dia ada many colours that is transpired out of going through prism. So the interpretations of rights to life itself, especially to rights to livelihood, need to go through that process. You cannot literally look into it. Katalah rights to life and rights to livelihood dalam Article 5 tu tak sebut specifically rights to file in your defence. Bila tak sebut maksudnya tak wujud ke? Taklah. So apa yang Gopal Sriram cuba nak highlight di situ adalah when we read the provisions of a constitution, especially when it relates to part 2, the one that guarantees our fundamental liberties, the rights to our fundamental liberties, it need to be read in a wider interpretations. It cannot be read in a narrow interpretations and very literal interpretations. It has to be liberal outside, taking into considerations of other logic or the relevant rights that can be attached to Article 5. So tak boleh tengok satu hala saja.
Can I ask you another question?
Boleh, sila.
In this question, can we give like analogy just to make it much more understanding? Like we give analogy, right? If we read Al-Quran, we cannot directly translate it. So that can we apply that kind of example?
Boleh. Tapi kena be careful with that because Al-Quran, the guideline is that to read with guidance of the expert. Okay, like constitution, there is no necessity to be guided by the expert. It can be read, but the method of interpretations need to be diverse. It cannot be literally read. Right, but Quran, the special guidelines to it is reading of Quran, you cannot directly translate with the education that you have from the civil side. Katalah you are an expert in dia panggil worldly education lah. Worldly education like benda yang sangat keduniaan dalam dunia, you are the expert of that area. So with expertise yang you ada, you apply the same interpretation and terjemahan to Al-Quran. It is wrong. It has to be read with guidance of the expert, the ulama, the scholars who have been rectified. Tapi constitution tak perlu. Kan, Quran dia perlu yang duduk talaki tu kan. Dia kena ada yang tu lah. So boleh nak insert that analogy, it is relatable, tapi be careful sebab guideline of reading Quran is slightly different from reading human made laws. Alright, sebab tu kadang baca terjemahan kan, ada setengah-setengah orang, dia bukan ahli dalam bidang itu, so dia letakkan terjemahan dia sendiri, itu yang which is sometimes it misled lah. It goes astray. Alright, so okay. Thank you, nice try, my Sarah. Anyone else? Yang lain macam senyap aja. You all dah mula stress ke apa? First subject apa You punya exam, final?
Pasti doktor.
Oh, paper, 7. Tak habis baca lagi lah ni. Banyak lagi masa kan, hari ni baru 3. Okay lah. So yang macam tu lah, aside kan, selain daripada kes Lee Kuan Yew tu, you ada Siva Rasa Rahsia, saya pernah sebut Siva Rasa Rahsia. Kes Nik Nazmi tu dia dalam security offences. Tapi dalam Nik Nazmi itu juga, mahkamah accept prismatic interpretations in defining whether the offence committed by Nik Nazmi is something that falls within Article 149, right? Dalam Siva Rasa Rahsia pun sama. Siva Rasa Rahsia, the argument was on Article 10, okay, your freedom of speech, expression and association, and the restrictions imposed on your freedom of association dalam kes Siva Rasa Rahsia itu was cautioned by the court to be read in a prismatic interpretations. That means dia macam ni prismatic tu lebih kepada selalunya lah court. The approach is commonly bila it comes to fundamental liberties, mahkamah akan suka adopt approach yang lebih ringan lebih longgar. To give ways for many rights that can be attached to one single rights. Lepas tu restriction kepada kita punya rights yang article 5 sampai article 13 tu, rights itu need to be protected. Satu, kerana it appears in the federal constitutions. Yang kedua adalah restrictions yang parlimen kan untuk setiap satu rights tu parlimen boleh letak restrictions. Our freedom of expression contohnya, freedom of speech kita boleh cakap sesuka hati kita, apa opinion kita nak cakap boleh, tapi we are limited to some restrictions. For example, kita tak boleh sampai fitnah orang lain. So that is the restrictions. The identifying of restrictions by parliament ni tadi kan pun mesti ada dia punya test of reasonableness. Tak boleh parlimen suka-suka restrict kita kalau dia tak jatuh kepada the balance of reasonableness, whether it's reasonable or it's not reasonable. That was discussed dalam siva rasa rahsia. Right, so ada 3 kes untuk second paragraph Lee Kuan Yew, you have siva rasa rahsia and Nick Nazmi. Okay, next, in the midst of attention given to UiTM issue in the social media, an NGO that calls itself Gerakan Benteng Pertahanan Terakhir Bumiputra proposed that Article 153 should be amended to include a special provision that declares UiTM as a Bumiputra institution so as to safeguard its special entrance policy. Perlu ke?
No need.
Tak perlu. Special provision that declares, tak payahlah sehingga dalam constitution kan. Let it be UiTM Act je cukup lah. Nak apa masuk dekat dalam Article 153 pula. Nak insert specifically untuk UiTM. Takut UiTM ni, it's an institution, tak tahu selama mana dia akan wujud. So bila tak wujud, kan, jadi tak ada sebab untuk kita amend dan masukkan UiTM tu specifically dalam 153. Alright, lepas tu Pak Cik ABC views all exchanges on social media in anger. He believes that questioning the policy under 153 is an offence under Sedition Act. Pak Cik ABC wrote a letter to UiTM to ask that anyone questioning the UiTM policy should be arrested and detained under SOSMA. So basically this one requires you to discuss on the limitations to 153 questioning 153, whether it falls under limitations lah it is limited under security offences and the specific statute for that is Sedition Act, right? And to certain extent SOSMA boleh sebab SOSMA dia kena dibaca bersama dengan akta-akta yang lain. Okay, Professor XYZ fully supports Pak Cik ABC. Okay, he also believe that since the Yang di-Pertuan Agong is the Chancellor of UiTM, that gives a certain legitimacy to the policy of excluding non-Bumi students from UiTM. So Professor XYZ proposes to have a nationwide campaign to educate everyone regarding the significance of paragraph 164 of the Red Commission Report 1957 that states, when we came to determine what is the special positions of Malays, we found that as a result of the original treaties with the Malay states, reaffirmed from time to time, the special positions of the Malays has always been recognized. So okay, habis tak ada apa-apa kat situ. So you have to discuss this tadi kita highlight all the issues kan in accordance to paragraph. Macam mana yang saya pernah buat dengan soalan yang lain. Because sometimes it has relevancy to question us after that. Kadang-kadang dia tak ada tapi dia boleh jadi intipati kepada your argument So the first one, advise Mary whether leave of a judge from the federal court is required in the event that she intends to challenge the validity of Section 1A of UiTM Act. What is the case where leave of court, specifically leave from federal court, is needed for you to file in the case straight away to federal court under its original jurisdiction. So federal court tu kan dia court paling tinggi. You have learned this one under your Malaysian legal system, ya, dia the highest court. So selalunya yang paling glaring for federal court adalah dia the appeal case, appeal ataupun revision case. Right. So ada satu jurisdiction bidang kuasa of federal court yang case boleh straight away file into federal court, minta federal court dengar terus. Case-case yang macam mana tu? And that kind of case requires leave from federal court. Look into Article 128, okay, 128, Article 4 Clause 3 and Article 4 Clause 4. So 3 ni. That's the main authority. For soalan pertama tu, Article 4, 3, Article 4.4 and Article 1281. This is the provision that supports on the requirement of getting a leave from federal court, yeah? Before you can straight away submit a case or file a case to be heard at federal court at first instance. Case dia adalah, okay, kalau dia conflict of inconsistencies between ordinary laws to constitution, itu perlukan leave to court atau tidak? Okay, this one you letakkan sebagai soalan. Jawapannya sebenarnya tidak. Sebab inconsistencies with federal constitution, dia boleh file in high court dulu. Okay. Tapi kalau masalah dengan parliament exceeds the power provided under 9th schedule of the constitution. Kan dia ada bidang kuasa kan, state list, federal list and concurrent list. So parliament dia ada dalam dia punya federal list tu. Itu je kuasa dia boleh buat. Then you have state list for state legislative assembly to legislate. In cases if the parliament cross over the jurisdiction, dia regulate something yang bukan bawah bidang kuasa dia, right? Ataupun state legislative assembly pun regulate something yang bukan bawah bidang kuasa state tapi dia pergi pass law tersebut. This is the only case yang dibenarkan untuk straight away pergi federal court, but we have to apply for leave daripada federal court dulu. So this Article 128. Right? So ada kes-kes dia lah. Tengok kes leave of court. Kes yang baru ni, kes Khairul Azam Abdul Aziz and Menteri Pendidikan on vernacular school. Okay, kes tu boleh dirujuk 2021. Dia kata Education Act tu on penggunaan bahasa tu boleh dua bahasa. Education Act membenarkan. Dia kata yang ni inconsistent dengan Parliament's power. Sebab itu bahasa Melayu kan, penggunaan bahasa Melayu tu. So mahkamah rule out, dia kata tidak ada inconsistency, bukan inconsistency, dia tidak ada Parliament exceeding its power. Sebab after all, education matters falls under federalist. So Parliament memang boleh legislate on education. So federal court tu lah dia tak perlukan leave from the court sebab dia bukan issue Parliament exceed the power, tapi dia Parliament lebih kepada apa yang mereka nak challenge tu adalah inconsistency between provision of the constitution, particularly Article 152 dengan Education Act tu. Right, so that's answer number 1. Answer number 2, with reference to the opinion of UiTM legal advisor, analyze the issues regarding constitutional interpretation together with prismatic interpretation. Yang ni saya dah sebut dah tadi. Okay, macam mana we have to define the prismatic interpretation. Okay, refer to the 3 cases yang saya highlight tadi, Nik Nazmi, Siva Rasa Rahsia, and also Lee Kuan Wo. 3 tu ya. Alright. And then advise the gerakan benteng pertahanan terakhir Bumiputra with a special attention on doctrine of basic structure. Yang ni discuss sahaja perkembangan basic structure di dalam Malaysia. So as for now, apa yang kita terima adalah the one stated under Siva Rasa Rahsia forms as part of the basic structure on the fundamental liberties, something that could not be amended easily. And then Kok Wah Kwan on the dissenting judgment made by Tun Richard Malanjun on the divisions of power between the judiciary, legislative and executive, and then you have Semenya Jaya, Indira Gandhi, apa lagi kes yang saya beritahu itu? Cubic case satu lagi. Alright, and then number 4, advise Pakcik ABC with regard to his issue under Sedition Act and SOSMA. So you have to highlight sedition adalah undang-undang yang dibuat oleh Parlimen following Article 149, similarly to SOSMA. So sama ada orang yang question 153 ini can be detained under Sedition Act ataupun SOSMA ni tadi. So advise accordingly. It's more of Seditious Act dia. So come with the objective of Article 149 tu apa bendanya. What are the procedures to have a valid law regulated under Article 149. So datanglah kat situ how you connect the existence of Sedition Act. What is the objective of Sedition Act? And then although Sedition Act contains some violations to the fundamental liberties, is that allowed or it's not allowed? So ceritakan tentang the restrictions. 149 can only violate the 4 fundamental liberties. Article 5, Article 9, Article 10 and Article 13. The rest of it, Sedition Act tak boleh. Okay, SOSMA is not a stand-alone statute. It is also a statute that regulates security offences activities lah something that would threat public order, public morality, economy. So with that, Parliament is allowed to pass laws under SOSMA. Okay, tengok kepada the objective of SOSMA dekat dalam slide saya on security offences tu ada and cite some cases on SOSMA dan Sedition Act. Kan ada few yang saya dah share dengan you tu, Sedition Act like Mark Coding, it relates to parliamentary privileges, Fan Yutang, case Lim Kit Siang. SOSMA you ada case Halimah Yazid Sufaat. You has the case of apa lagi case tu? Yang Lahad Datu punya attack, Siti Aisyah. Okay, kes-kes yang macam tu Kes Izam, Muhammad Noor. Banyaklah kes bawah SOSMA dan Sedition Act Matthias Chang, kes Khairuddin Abu Bakar, banyaklah kes-kes bawah SOSMA. Okay, advise Professor XYZ regarding his reference to paragraph 164 of the Rate Commission report to gather the nature and scope of powers of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. Okay, yang ni adalah dia refer pada 164 kan? Yang mana dia kata Yang di-Pertuan Agong is the guardian of the rights of the Bumiputra. Ceritakanlah the role of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong in protecting the rights of the Bumiputra under Article 153. Right, yang dia refer 164 ni tak ada apa-apa, dia confirmation. The extension of macam yang saya cerita the rights given to the Malays and the natives of Sabah and Sarawak. It's not something that comes following the introductions of Federal Constitution. It is already there. So during the colonizations and the British and the Portuguese and the Dutch, the area of Malay customs and also the practices of the religion of the local people, which is Islam at that time, majority, was an area which is untouchable by the penjajah. The British did not encroach into that area. It is still under Sultan. So the role of the Sultan has started before Merdeka. So the Rate Commission is basically under 164 is affirming that rights given to the local people of the Malay land. Alright?
Doctor, can I include a social contract also?
Ya, boleh. Social contract. So describe social contract, dia bukan satu mythos. It's not a myth. The existence is transpired through several provisions in the Constitution itself. Kan? Macam saya dah kata, the reading of Article 3 and Article 11, bila kita reconcile, dia adalah balance di situ. You ambil ini, so in return, this is the rights that you shall give to us. Okay, we award you with this one, and in return, there will be something that we secure for you also in the Constitution. Okay.
Doctor, for the fifth question, also can we highlight that the power of YDPA?
Boleh. On what area? Power of YDPA tu besar. Nak highlight yang mana satu?
Highlight about the discretionary power, because based on the last statement, show that YDPA can simply take action by its own to do this kind of thing.
Kalau ikutkan 153 itu, yang di-Pertuan Agong is given a non-discretionary power. Dia tak boleh create a policy on his own opinion. Dia kena ada advice coming from the Prime Minister or the Cabinet member. 153 itu is a non-discretionary power ya. Walaupun dia guardian of the rights of the Malay and natives of Sabah and Sarawak, tapi any formations and introductions of policies bawah 153 itu adalah kena bertindak atas nasihat. Okay?
Jelas, Doktor.
Alright. Any more
Okay,
question?
Doktor, maksudnya kita kena highlight about the safeguard of the special position lah kan?
Betul?
YDPA kan?
Ya, betul. Ada lagi apa-apa soalan? Okay, let me just call your name for the last time in my class. Abdul Qayyum Muhammad Faizal Aiman Shakir. Ada apa-apa soalan? You are clear?
Betul, okay.
Clear, Doktor.
Alright. Okay, Aisyah Rashida Amira Syamimi. Ada apa-apa soalan?
So far no question, Doctor.
Right. Anis Amira Atalia Atira. Ada apa-apa soalan?
Ya, Doktor, satu lagi yang if kita nak cerita pasal dia punya power discretionary or non-discretionary itu, kita nak masukkan sekali ke? Kita nak beritahu ke?
Dalam soalan ni sebenarnya dia dah tak ada kepentingan cerita division of power given to Yang di-Pertuan Agong. So dia bukan ceritanya tentang, kalau dia cerita emergency dia kena penting untuk discuss discretionary atau non-discretionary, sebab 153 tu jelas mesti bertindak atas nasihat.
Maksudnya totally memang kita dah tolak tepi lah dia punya ni
Dia terus non-discretionary power. Kalau you nak letaklah mukadimah sikit bahawa Yang di-Pertuan Agong under the constitution is given two types of power. Bolehlah mukadimah, a brief one ya. Lepas tu letak 153 tu is more of a non-discretionary power.
Okay, faham.
Right, okay. Atira Imtiaz, Ayu Farisha, Chelsea, ada apa-apa?
Clear, Doctor?
Yeah, right. Danisha, Irin Zarin, Evanel.
No questions, Doctor.
Right. Faris Afaham, Farzana, Muhammad Alif. Ada apa-apa soalan?
No question, Doctor.
Tak ada question, Doctor.
No question.
Muhammad Haziq, Muhammad Hidayat, Nazrin, Nur Maisarah. Ada apa-apa soalan?
No question for me, Doctor.
No questions so far, Doctor.
No questions, Doctor.
Alright. Nur Mali, Putri Batrisha, Radin. Ada apa-apa soalan?
No question, Doctor, so far.
No questions so far, Doctor.
Right. Sharifah, Siti Fatin Maimunah, Sharifah and Tengku Abdullah. Ada apa-apa soalan?
No,
Ada. Alright. Well, Muhammad Izzat, Wan Nur Amira and Yusaini. Ada apa-apa soalan? Alright, thank you. So I think that's the end of our class for bukan saja today, for the semester. Habis dah pengajian you dengan saya untuk konstitu lah. We might be meeting again